Okay, the next speaker is me. I should have switched these sessions with David Pine, but I didn't. So I'll introduce myself. This is Enrique Fernández Escalante, and the title of the presentation is Ancient Techniques of Managed Aquifer Recharge, Spanish Carreos and Peruvian Amunas as an Adaptive Complex System, Breakdown, Pathology, and Comparative Analysis. I take in this and this. Okay. In the Mindalay Museum of Quito in Ecuador, there is a very old inscription dated about the year 2000 before Christ, and I am going to read it in some translation, more or less translation, no? Beneath the earth, where the beings of the night dwell, streams of fresh water flow in expectation of thirst, but it is useless without the trace of its possible route. So there were some pre-Incan civilization hydrogeologists, and within this antiquity context, we are going to talk about those who are perhaps the most ancient written references for MAR recharge, the Carreos in the south of Spain and the Peruvian Amunas. Both of them are high mountain systems, complex and present extraordinary analogies and differences, despite being disconnected when they were constructed in the pre-Columbian period. Both our systems have scarcely evolved during at least 8 centuries. They fit an adaptive complex system according to the definition of Murray from 2010, as we are going to see next. And we have done a pathological study comparing 24 units after a breakdown, taking into consideration construction and use criteria. A Carreo canal is a water management system which causes an intense transformation of the territory with the coexistence of cultivation terraces, pastures, and humid ecosystems. On the other hand, an Amuna canal is an Andean water harvesting technology that conforms a complex hydrogeological and socio-cultural system. The methods we have used in this study has been a previous recognition in Google Earth of both systems. We have visited 10 Carreos in the south of Spain and 6 Amunas around the Lima area, in Guarochirí in special, during 6 years, more or less, studying dimensions, materials, the hydraulic masonry from a construction point of view, and also we have taken into consideration the uses and social aspects. So a benchmarking technique has been applied using pathological techniques. Also, I persist regarding the materials employed in the construction and the use. So this is a block diagram for a Carreo. It's common for both. There is an infiltration area in the slope of the mountains using the melt from the snow or the runoff from the rainwater. It comes into the aquifer by 2 different circuits, either across the regolith, across the soil, and or across the groundwater flow in the interconnected faults in the rocky massif until a recovery point, either a point, a line, or a polygon, where this water is used months later, usually less than a year, as an average 7 months. Regarding the geological background, for the first case, the Carreo canals in the south of Spain lays over skids, sails, and slates in general. In purple color, there is the trace of this inventory of canals that we did maybe 10 years ago, something like that. And in the Peruvian case, they lie over volcanic rocks, either diorite, basalts, or andesites. So there are big differences regarding the geology, what is going to influence on the whole system. Professor Llamas used to say in the faculty that hydrogeology is a profile. So taking his advice, I have brought this profile, quite equivalent to the former block diagram exposed before, but I have introduced another element present at least in the south of Spain. It's the presence of direct dolines. Some water is introduced in the rock massif, in the system, through dolines, through collapses in the terrain. The rest of the skin is equivalent in both cases. One weathered area, one infiltration and collection area, and one with springs for the recovery months later. So the breakdown, there are 24 different elements. And there is a poster outside if you want to take it later with more relaxed. And this is the second part. And we are going to compare a selection of all of them because we don't have time, obviously, to talk about the 24. Regarding the first one, the structures are adapted to a major geodynamism in Peru than in Spain. For example, we can see here one Huayco deposit. Huayco is the local name for a debris flow, huge, coming from the Andes Mountains. The viscosity really high, and there are trap blocks of rock, pebbles, a calcite, for example. So they have to retain a stronger threats in Peru than in Spain. The slab excavation for side wall, the leveling of the base following the contour bands was used in a single side in the south of Spain and in parallel in the slope in the Peruvian case. Regarding the water detention devices, they are more abundant in the Careos than in the Amunas. What is to say, the slopes in the south of Spain is higher than in the Peruvian case, where the water flows very slowly without the necessity of many stopping devices. Okay. The profile channel excavation and the hydraulic masonry upside the slope, there are 3 different cases with a slab stone in the slope of the mountain, excavated in the rock for the second case, or by means of gabions constructed for the third case. In the Peruvian case, the most used is the gabions to protect this side of the different slopes, as we can see in the bottom right photographs, for example. Regarding the other side of the canal, the most usual for the Spanish case are stacked stones, like the case 4, or again gabions, like in the case of the right scheme, and we can see also in the pictures at the right side of your screen. The stone refills to raise the channel base is very careful design and execution in both cases. Each stone only mounts on the nest in very high sloped areas, whilst there are mosaics without overlapping in the very low slope areas. It is common for both systems. The protection of the canal with flagstones is easier in Spain. It is schist, crushed rocks for the Careos, so they can count on stones this side, flat. On the other hand, they had to fight with the blocks. It is volcanic rocks, and except for the carved volcan sedimentary rocks, they have a very hard stonework in Peru. Regarding the channel length extension, we finished the inventory. There are about 125 kilometers of Careo canals in the south of Spain, and there is no figures still by the moment. There are some people in Peru working on it, but they are calculating about a triple, something like that. They work it harder. Why? Because the Amunas are in parallel along the slope. We can see also on the right hand the 1, 2, 3 parallel canals collecting the runoff, whilst on the other hand there is a single canal along the whole slope for the Spanish case. The hydraulic masonry, there are some aqueducts, and there are from very simple technical solutions to hard and expensive ones. For example, on the right hand, we can see how were the barranqueras like, and on the right hand, we can see some very simple pipeline, or in the case of Huarochirí, some canals carved in pure rock, hard rock, like in the bottom right of this collection of pictures. Talking about the results, there are some differences according to their construction. The first of all, the geological materials. I have mentioned before, it is metamorphic rocks for the Careos and volcanic and intrusive rocks for the ammonias. The type of stones is natural slabs due to schistosity in the first type, and the second required a greater stonework and adaptation. The thrust conduction of the slope, it is single for the Careos, and there are up to 4 along the slope in the ammonias. Talking about some analogies, between the recharge point or line or polygon and the recovery same is from 15 days to 7 months. 7 months is the average. There are some even a year. The recovery structures are springs of water, usually natural modified springs. Both require an important maintenance, and it is a communal activity. All the inhabitants of the village contribute on it. There is a major geodynamism affecting amunas, how the work in maintenance is harder in Peru. The Careos have a joint administration relying on a single person, the acequiero, one occupation inherited by kinship during 8 centuries at least, according to written references, whilst in amunas, all the population contribute also in the management of the systems. The diversion from the river runway is more robust in the amunas in order to avoid the threat of the huaicos, these debris flows I have mentioned before. The slab excavation, the stonework technique for volcanics, versus following the foliation of the rock. It is perhaps the biggest of all of them. Also, the held round profile canal is carved with work stones in amunas and the stone slabs in Careos. The both side walls by elevation is stronger and thicker in amunas also. The vegetal afforestation around the area, it is palpable, a biggest effort also in Peru than in Spain nowadays. And the water recovery points are in general a polygon in Peru, and the single source in the south of Spain case. So just concluding, both systems have all the usual artificial recharge components to be classified as a pure MAR system. Each of them has been broken down into 24 different units. The biggest difference, perhaps, is the metamorphic rocks in one case and the volcanic in the other. I have mentioned it 3 times, sorry for this. It is a very short-term regulation scheme. It is not useful for long, even medium-term regulation. Water is managed within a year in general. Both constructions fit the concept for a complex adaptive system, or CAS, according to the Murray definition of 2010. What is to say, they have self-similarity, complexity, emergence, and self-organization versus the multi-agent system composed by simple or multiple interacting components. There is a cultural meeting in the distance. Some authors in Peru talk about a cosmovision of water that are quite equivalent when Europe and America were not connected. And there are abundant signs of synchrony in their temporal development. Their development along the history has been also common in many cases. Both systems have replicability possibilities in another reaches in the world. Regarding the ecological conclusion, we should preserve this system. It is important. And regarding the social aspect, may the water not separate us. This is all. There are plenty of references and some videos. If you have some time, probably you could enjoy some of them. There is the link, will be posted, and you will have just to click it. Thank you very much for your kind attention. And from time. Any question? Questions? No? Okay, thank you.
Hello, Stephen Kassain of London Mills, Afghanistan. I wish to make just an observation about the co-temporal development that you were talking about between South America and Spain. The technology you've described is incredibly similar to what the Persians developed in modern-day Iran, Afghanistan and Tajikistan with a technology called kanats. In fact, it's almost identical to what you described. Mm-hmm. They developed it about 2,500 years BC. Mm-hmm. The technology was exported then to Oman, the southern Arabian Peninsula, and modified and became what was termed afflage or falage, depending on whether they were creating artificial permeability in the immediate subsurface or whether it naturally existed. And I believe that technology was then exported through the Caliphate to Islamic Spain. Mm-hmm. That's just an observation I wanted to make. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Stephen, I'm going to reply your question with another, if you allow me, please. Do you also believe in the cosmovision of water, like some Peruvian authors defend? Because you are talking a third system in the world connected to the Spanish, but disconnected also from the Peruvian case. What do you think?
Yeah, the Peruvian connection is quite incredible because there's absolutely no way there was, in pre-Columbrian times, there was a connection between Persian culture, Arabian culture, and Spanish culture, and South America. So that part of co-temporal development is intriguing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you very much, Steve. Any other question? Sorry, I didn't see you before. I have the light in front. Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Enrique. This is Bruce Musteer from IH. Just an observation of what Stephen said, that the type of afflage in Oman that are equivalent to kanats are known as Dawoodi afflage, because it is believed that Solomon, son of David, flew into Oman on a magic carpet and caused the thousands of afflage to be constructed in 10 days.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for this input.